Well, hello again, and welcome to the Roland's Reviews YouTube channel. Hope that everyone is doing fine. I just wanted to share some really good news with you. So, after the election, the mainstream media outlets have really been in a struggle. So, CNN is struggling, and massive layoffs are incoming. MSNBC is struggling and now they are up for sale. This is definitely a win for the American people. I guess they finally learned that you can't continue to lie to the American people and then expect for them to be there to support you. So, I will get started. I just have some videos to share with you and maybe one article, but this is very significant, folks. And I definitely wanted to get the conversation started with you in reference to this particular issue. So listen up.
Sad and frustrated. Those are the words of one CNN staffer amid the bombshell report that the network is cutting hundreds of jobs and will axe top stars.
Executives are set to unleash a fury of layoffs following CNN's abysmal election day ratings. The network clocked in at just 5.1 million viewers, lagging behind competitors like MSNBC and Fox News. The presidential election has shined a spotlight on the decline of mainstream media, especially cable news.
The layoffs come after veteran journalist Chris Wallace announced his departure from the network, taking leadership there by surprise. Rumors have been swirling for weeks that senior stars like Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper have been denied raises. Oh, it's so sad.
I am going to be more sympathetic because it is unknown which on-air talent will be given the boot. But the highest paid stars reportedly include Anderson Cooper. Maybe I'm less sympathetic with this, $20 million per year, allegedly. Erin Burnett, $6 million, and rising star Caitlin Collins at $3 million.
The man behind the layoffs, Chief Executive Mark Thompson, aims to carry out a digital news first vision. The media exec also cut 100 jobs back in July, which was roughly 3% of CNN's workforce. Ex-users went wild. Conservative account Wall Street Silver posted, quote, "Maybe the new owners will figure out that lying nonstop to your audience is a lousy business model." And media group Sasquatch posted, quote, "This is what happens when you get caught gaslighting an entire nation." I wish we need to have tissues on set so I can,
Robbie,
stop the crying and the tears.
Media, our comrades in the media.
Oh, no industry solidarity. I'm a class traitor. I hate the people in our profession.
Looking at redundancies coming down the pike. I mean, which may hit people who are not on $20 million a year, and those are the ones I have sympathy for. Let me make a case of a kind for CNN here, which is that I don't really think the problem is the one that was outlined in those tweets. The problem is there is a cultural shift going on where people are not watching linear television so much anymore. They're coming to fantastic shows like Rising, but there is also a broader just cord cutting and all of that. And that has left the average age of cable news audiences really quite old. The median age of CNN viewers is 67. Now, we love our more mature viewers here as well, but the problem is, I think, a cultural shift rather than the flaws that one could point out in CNN's journalistic product.
Yeah, and look, Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper, you may disagree with them. I disagree with them plenty of the time. They're talented people. Are they $20 million talent? It's difficult to make money when you're paying someone $20 million is just the honest-to-God truth of it. Now, no, they're big stars and people watch for their names, so I get it. You're right that I think it would be a shame to have all the littler people who are doing a lot of hard work for those shows, the behind-the-scenes work, the reporting. You cut those positions, you hollow out those positions, and then you keep your stars, but then you don't have as much real journalism going on. You don't have any meat for them to dig into. I actually have been a little bit more positively disposed towards CNN in recent weeks. I've been watching it more, and I've been seeing that I've said this before, I think they're almost taking a page out of our book a little bit, where they've been having more robust disagreements, discussions, debates at like roundtables between some people who are a little outside their normal staple of hosting, of commentary. So I think that's very good. I'm glad they're doing more of that, but whether it's, in time to kind of save the business model because of the reasons you point out, that we're transitioning to online, to streaming, to social media. There's also just something going on where I think media brands have lost trust in a way that individuals have not. The rise of Substack, the rise of independent journalists / content creators. It's not.
Yeah. And so if you look at it, CNN is 20th century. And look at the 21st century, folks. So with the advent of social media being as popular as it is, and content creators here on YouTube, other forms of social media, people are, finding alternative sources. So they're becoming a bit archaic. And again, when you look at, just an average American who decides to sit down and look at one of those, channels, CNN or MSNBC, they are so far left. They are too progressive. And this last election was a referendum from the American people. And so the product that they have to sell, if you look at the results of the election, that's not what America wants. I'll continue.
Not attached to a brand like CNN. It used to be, oh, it's CNN. We're just going to watch CNN. Now it's individuals, and individuals often don't need a brand, a CNN, in order to thrive in this new ecosystem.
No, and I think there are obvious strengths to that if people can survive under their own steam without being accountable to a boss or a corporate line. I think in the specifics of CNN's case, it is interesting watching the transition that you were talking about, where they now do have more people of contrasting views, but not just people, screaming at each other. They actually have, on occasion, fairly substantive discussions. In a way, I think the CNN brand in particular got very confused because many years ago it had been this sort of liberal-leaning but kind of centrist news operation. Then I think it, particularly during Trump's first term, it became very trolly, like everything was the biggest outrage that had ever happened in the history of civilization. And that worked for a little while ratings-wise, but it's a kind of McDonald's approach, right? It's just like there's junk food that you get a quick fix from, and then it goes. And now they're trying to position themselves in a difficult climate where the overall audience for cable news is going down, and their brand is not that well defined, except by their critics who just see it as, fake news or whatever. Unfair, I think.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, MSNBC's viewership has plummeted since Election Day, by the way, with a 54% drop in primetime viewership. Evidently, the anti-Trump network did not receive a bump whatsoever from Donald Trump being back in the news. MSNBC averaged 1.1 million viewers in October, but took a nosedive to an average audience of 736,000 on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week, following President-elect Donald Trump's victory over Vice President Kamala Harris. This comes as Fox News viewership grew by 61% over the same period. Yeah, declining to, I know it's not quite equivalent, but I was looking at our numbers, and not to explain how the sausage made people, but we had 1 million people watch in a 24-hour period watching our commentary last week, post-election commentary, which is pretty good. They can't even get that many people to watch contemporaneously, have the TV on, and we gotta win you up. We got to lure you back in with each new video, because it could recommend you something else. You could click away. Just got the TV on. You can leave it on, and that counts as a view. Yeah. So in some ways, our job is more difficult, and we're doing pretty well for ourselves.
I like this tooting off our own horn. I think there should be more of that. You know what the debate now about cable news versus shows like ours reminds me of? When I first came to the US, which was in 2003. People who were older than me used to talk about the networks versus cable, so it was like ABC, CBS, NBC, and then like the cable networks, as if the cable networks were this exotic thing. And like for me, just arriving in the country, there was never any difference. It was just stuff that you saw on TV. Now I think for people, there's video content that most people are accessing either through their phone or computer, and it's not really like, oh well, this is the big broadcast name and this is a separate YouTube thing. People are thankfully for us, open to all sorts of ways of acquiring and getting their news.
And it is true that I end up consuming a lot of like CNN and MSNBC and The View. We talk about them a lot here because I see clips of them on Twitter, on X. So if they stop making that, it would be the case. Like somebody has to make the content in the first place so that we can react to that, and then they react to us, and then someone else reacts to that. But the thing has to exist itself. So I hope the business model doesn't get so bad that there's never an underlying thing being created anymore.
No,
yeah, and so this is basically my review. And depending on how old you are now, when I was younger, cable news was big business. Now, of course, things have changed. I'm a Generation Xer, I am. And so cable is not that important to this generation because, of course, cell phones and social media. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And I also wanted to share just another item or two, and then we will be done. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So, because I think I mentioned it earlier when you first came in. So MSNBC is for sale. Comcast is putting them up for sale, and CNN has the massive layoffs. So again, this is a culmination of years and years of lying and gaslighting to the American people, as well as the society that we're in now, and social media and content creators. A lot of people getting their news from content creators. And that's the world we live in. And, you know, if you do not adjust, then you become a dinosaur and then you disappear. You have to go out of business. Okay. And so I will stop sharing that. I think I have one more item to share and then we'll be done. And also, I don't know if you've heard, so Chris Wallace actually resigned from MSNBC. Where are we here? Yeah. So, and he was like, you know, he was big time. So it's all the cards are crashing in. And here we go. I'll play some of this and then we'll get out of here.
Interesting media shakeout. Post-election updates for you. Let's put this up on the screen. So apparently MSNBC, which did very well on election night and eclipsed CNN for the first time ever, now they have lost half of their viewers compared to this time last year. She had 54% of their viewers. I believe CNN also completely plummeted after election day. And, you know, it's not just this. So, you know, part of this is just like liberal depression post Trump getting reelected, Kamala losing. This is very normal after election cycles where, you know, the chosen candidate loses. I remember Fox last time after 2020.
Oh, they got blown out. Well, there was a stop.
I was going to say they suffered significant blow, not only because Trump lost, but then they didn't really think he lost. And then these other outlets, One America Network and these other places were willing to fully indulge the conspiracies in a way that Fox, I mean, they only dabbled in indulging the conspiracies. So they took a big hit as well. So in certain ways, this is typical, but in other ways, I think it is significant and it is different in this sense. I referenced in the last block, there's been a liberal disillusionment with the mainstream press. Starting, some of this is...
Hello. Hey.
All right, I'll get rid of this commercial and we'll get right back to it.
I mean, it's justified. Some of their specific reasoning is not particularly justified. So the original angst and agitation was around the reporting, the accurate reporting on Joe Biden's decline. There were a lot of liberals who were very mad about that. And then there's a whole cottage industry.
And I really feel that Kamala was in on the gaslighting. They all knew about Joe Biden's cognitive decline, and they hid it as long as they could until he did that first debate with Trump, and then the cat was out of the proverbial bag. I will continue.
Of liberals who are very upset, many times justifiably so, about New York Times headlines. And in their worldview, they feel that these outlets have not been harsh enough on Donald Trump. Then the Washington Post Bezos deciding not to make an endorsement in this election was really, how many subs did they lost? Like
several 100,000.
It was like 250,000 at least. That was at that point. That was like a day or two in of their paid subscribers. So there has been a real blow to liberal trust of establishment media organizations. And there have been some outlets who have been picking up support in the wake of this loss for like the more liberal, institutions that have been the mainstays. Our friends over at Lever News, they apparently are doing really well. We can put this up on the screen, D2. So I talked to David Sirota yesterday, and he told me I could share with you that not only has Master Plan, their podcast, which you guys really should listen to, not only has that jumped up the podcast charts, but they have seen an 11% overall increase in their paid subs in just the past couple of months. So a huge, huge jump in terms of their paid subscribers. I talked to Ryan at Dropsite also. He said that they have seen, specifically on the free sub front, they've seen a massive multi-thousand person surge in terms of Dropsite News subscribers. And then Nathan J. Robinson, who is a lefty who runs Current Affairs magazine, put this up on the screen. He says they've seen a 900% increase in the rate of new Current Affairs subscribers over the last few days. He says people know independent left media tells them the truth, other outlets delude them, and more vital than ever in combating right-wing propaganda. So there's some interesting energy that is out there kind of on the left looking for independent outlets that people feel more effectively report the news and, share their worldview, and also are like with Lever News. I mean, these guys are doing actual journalism, Ryan obviously, and Jeremy doing really important actual journalism over at Dropsite. And it's stuff that the mainstream press has largely completely ignored, like accountability journalism, and with Ryan and Jeremy in particular, big focus on foreign affairs. So kind of an interesting shift that's happening there over on the on that side.
I can only hope. And look, Russiagate saved their ass last time, because this happened last time around too. But this time, I don't know. You can tell me psychologically, it just feels very different. Last time, it was a shock. Trump was a shock. If you're too young to remember, I will never forget. So I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning, election night. We were working at the Daily Caller office, went home, grabbed a couple hours of sleep, got on the metro the next morning, came to work. It was the death. It was like 9/11. I was too young to remember what it was like to be an adult, but that's what I could imagine. It was like to have been around the day after 9/11.
Yeah, when I was walking through the airport, I had the same vibe of people were just
I was like, this is insane. Yeah, this is insane.
Shocked.
This time, it was just it's normal. Also, there's no cope this time. He won the popular vote. He won all the swing states. It wasn't narrow. It was a blowout.
There's no Comey. There's no Russia.
They left it all out on the field, and they got their asses kicked. And so if anything, there's a reckoning of all right, well, we lost to him twice in 8 years.
This was not a one-off.
Yeah,
it was not a fluke. It's not a we're going to get him next time. No.
Yeah.
In the end, he got away with all the stuff and he won.
And he won. Yeah, and not just won, he won the popular vote. That's a mandate. I remember, everyone was like, how can this possibly be it? Look at the RNC. We were talking earlier about immigration. They held up signs that said mass deportation at the RNC. Don't be surprised when mass deportation happens. He stood up in front of a sign the day before election. There were only 2 things that said behind him: end migrant crime and mass deportation. America knew what it was voting for, 100%. So it's one of those where, to them, that's unimaginable to the liberal mind, but now they have to grapple with that. And it's one of those where they're like, what do we do? And the truth is, MSNBC has no coherence to explain that strategy.
That's correct.
And it's because, and look, you can give a left, analogy. I have plenty of disagreements. We'll continue to talk over the next 4 years, but there's a coherence to what you're offering, to what Kyle is offering, to what even the PodSafe guys, to what they're offering.
True.
But there is no coherence to MSNBC Morning Joe liberalism that offered a path and got blown out by the American electorate.
That is such a key point because the Kamala Harris campaign, like they ran the Morning Joe campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That it was run exactly like Joe Scarborough would want it run.
Yes.
Right? The embrace of frickin' Liz Cheney, the obsession with never Trump Republicans, the constant like shunning of the base and anything that they would want, the, you know, constant like shilling for Israel and really, you know, basically smearing your own base as a bunch of anti-Semites for wanting a ceasefire and wanting peace. They ran that campaign, and Joe Biden ran that campaign, and Hillary Clinton ran that campaign. And Joe Biden ekes out a win, barely at a time when Trump's approval ratings were in the toilet. People were getting killed during COVID. Like, it was a mess, and you barely eked out a victory. Now it's like, wow, this whole universe, especially the MSNBC, CNN universe in particular, but also the Washington Post, New York Times universe, your view of the world was wrong.
Facts. And I've said since the election, this was a referendum. And so it's just, if you've been keeping up, the liberals are starting to eat themselves, eat each other. They're finger pointing. They are imploding. And I love it. It's good for the American people. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. Make sure that you were aware what is going on. This is great. They have done nothing but lie and gaslight the American people for years. And now it looks like their time is coming to an end. I hope that you have enjoyed this content. If you have, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and I will respond. Also, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and share this video out with your family, your friends. Share it on your various forms of social media. And let me thank you for stopping by the Roland's Reviews YouTube channel. See you soon.